So the report came out from Fightful that Punk is coming back, that he's scheduled for maybe the middle of June when AEW's in Chicago, right? So it started basically Dave and Brian commented on it first, and then all the Twitters just started. So here's the comments from Dave and Brian. Yeah.
Right.
There's no defending it. The big thing was the promo on Adam Page, which was totally unprofessional. And there's no defending it. But because he was never punished, which is one of the problems with this, is because he was never punished for it, it created a lot of heat that got worse and worse and worse. If he had been told, if like he had done that promo and Tony would have said, dude, you're going against the script, you're going to sit out for a couple weeks. I think that at that point, either, he would have pouted and quit and gone home, or he would have not pouted and quit and gone home, and maybe this thing would have been alleviated. I don't know which would have happened. But it didn't happen that way. So it got worse and worse and worse. And so now we're at this situation where, it's like, obviously he's probably going to be back. And, if they want to work and he's going to be back, there's ways to do it, but going in there and trying to make the other people look unprofessional is probably the worst way to do it, unless you're trying to just kind of like pressure them out of the company. If that's the idea, then we'll have to wait and see how it all turns out. It's a really,
all right. That's enough.
But I like extend like.
So that came from the SAP report that Punk, is willing to come back, is being scheduled to come back, and is willing to work with the Bucks and Kenny, who aren't willing to work with him. So that story.
Well, what I heard is that what I heard, and this is my opinion. Nobody told me none of that.
Well, you just said what you heard.
No, this is my opinion.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. I did hear it. I'm sorry. You're right. I did hear this. But you don't know if it's true or not. You heard. Okay. Right. But from somebody that's pretty credible, that what they're going to do is one, the Buck faction, which I'm assuming is Omega and whoever else, will be on one show, and like the Punk faction, which I'm assuming is FTR and whoever else, will be on Rampage, which, to tell you the truth, Rampage needs all the help you can get, but so does Dynamite.
Right. So
let's hear this exchange.
Okay. So it started, after that clip.
But I thought Matt Kuhn wasn't in the wrestling business or quit or something.
Well, no, he does FTR's. He does Dax's podcast.
He's Dax's.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's Dax's co-host. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So Matt
says, "Why was?" By the way,
I don't know why Matt. That's interesting.
I don't know why he blocks me either.
He says, "Why would this bad faith analysis is the first thing I saw on Twitter today? Geez, we get it. You don't want him back. Your friends don't want him back. Now put all that away and be a journalist if you still have it in you." And
but I don't get that from Dave and that. Do you, Disco or Joe? That he doesn't want them back.
I don't know. Let me hear the rest of the story.
That he doesn't want Punk back.
Well, isn't that what Kuhn is saying?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. In that clip, you could construe it as that, where Dave's saying it's a bad idea because of this and that. But I think
it's a bad idea, or is he saying that he never got punished and there's heat over that?
Yeah, that's the bad idea, to bring him back, and there's never been any kind of punishment for that promo he did, and then the press conference, and then the fight. But
there was no punishment.
So Matt is he's on the FTR side because he works with them. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but that's where he's coming from. But Bixen Span says Dave and the Bucks being friends is a gimmick.
Bro, he should just sit down. I said this when it first happened in Disco. Please call me out if I'm wrong. I said this when it first happened. He should have sat down with all four. Who doesn't want to work here? Go f yourself.
Yeah, of course.
We're here to work.
We discussed that. It's like, you know.
Every bro, we all have people we don't like to work with. You don't stop going to work.
The way this has been handled by everybody has been atrocious. It's been like, if you could check the wrong answers on the test, everybody got the wrong answer for this.
Yeah, and I understand that Tony doesn't want to piss one faction off and they all leave, or there's a bad. Then you sit down and you talk it over like grown adults and you fix it.
Right.
Nobody's wife got here. Nobody's, you just
keep going with this. I want to see this. I want to see the dirt.
Because really, they're all valuable in their own way too. So any of them,
they're all valuable. Not in their own way. They're all valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Keep going.
So Bixen Span says Dave and the Bucks being friends is a gimmick. If there's one thing Dave actual friends swear by in all this, it's that. So he's saying that that's a gimmick. Matt says I witnessed a long glimpse of Dave and the Bucks together behind the scenes at an event. All I will say is it's not a gimmick. That's my observation, and I will swear and stand by it, and only say this much as a first-person rebuttal to this point. Vixen Span says, I've had long conversations at shows with wrestlers who I was cordial with, but I wouldn't at all consider friends, though. I'm sure Dave has too. Matt says, it wasn't that. I promise you I'd stake my name on it. So basically, that's what it is. Matt's saying.
But did you say that Sapp and them are in this too?
Well, Sapp's report initiated all of it. Sapp's report was that Punk is returning and that the Bucks.
What does Hausman say? Because he's in there too now.
Oh, then Nick Hausman, what does he say? He gets retweeted by.
Oh no, he just retweeted him. It's just a chartable thing,
right?
About who shows it where.
Well, I'll see when I believe it. I'm not.
Dave's point. Let me just say real quick. Yeah, Dave's point I think was that Punk wants this side of the story to come out through Sapp or whoever, that these guys don't want to work with him, to position himself as the good guy and the elite as the bad guys. And Meltzer was saying that's a horrible way to come back to try to throw these guys under the bus again by saying, hey, they won't work with me. I'm trying to get along here, So
yeah, but maybe so is Punk willing to work with them, but they're not willing to work with him. Is that it?
That's the story.
But here's another big problem with this. Is that, dude, like all these guys involved here are like marks for these guys. Like, these these journalist guys are like marks for Punk. They're part of, Punk has a cult following of fans that they like him.
Because they might have been fans when he was hot.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like, but bro, wrestling journalism was not like it is today. All these guys back in the day when Punk was getting over and stuff and he created his fan base, these were all just marks. You know what I'm saying? Now they're like, a lot of these guys are journalists and stuff and but they started as marks for those guys. It's very obvious Dave is a mark for Kenny and the Young Bucks. I mean, he can't sit there and possibly, look at the way he, just read his sheet. I mean, like, Ken 7-star matches, 5-star tag team of the year every year. Just like and he's friends with these guys. So it's like, what are we getting here from journalistic integrity?
Let me ask you a question. Do you think he's giving him higher ratings because he's friends with them?
I think it could have something to do with it. Right. I mean, you can't ignore that metric. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, I'm not discounting that. You know what I'm saying? I think you have to.
I would think you would be professional enough to do that.
But right. Okay, but you never know.
Right.
Well, then
we've been surprised at other things, but I wouldn't expect that from Uncle Dave.
And this is what we're getting from this situation. Is I think that maybe Punk and Tony have each other's ear, and they're not letting anybody else in the loop. And I don't know who's getting in the loop on these conversations. These things are being reported. Punk is smart enough to get his story out, somewhere, because you could tell by the way that he was talking to FTR. By the things that they'd been saying recently, like you could just
look
at
them been saying. I don't know.
And he said, Dak says he says he
I
talks
don't know,
to Punk.
Disco.
Right.
Yeah, Dak says he talks to Punk every day, so there's no doubt that Dax is
right. Well, we know
right, and that's Matt Coon probably knows a lot. Right. So it's like, yeah, bro, you literally have factions of journalists trying to get the story out. But really, bro, you know what he should do here? Punk should do an interview with somebody, with one of these guys.
Right. Or even Ariel Helwani.
Absolutely. Let's get one of the respected journalists that people look at as like, okay, this guy's actually going to press the guy for some serious questions here and try to get to the bottom of it, right?
And Ariel's his boy.
Punk should absolutely he should absolutely do an Ariel Helwani interview.
Right.
And then they should interview the Kenny, bro, or just, dude, fly these guys in. Get them all in a room, sit down, talk it out. Let's get an angle, the stuff, and get back on TV. This is so freaking petty, okay? To the point that people are they've dug their feet in the sand and they don't want to, they don't want to work with them, And I don't want
to minimize what happened because it ended up in violence, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But bro, WCW. How many times did people that were threatening each other's lives and real badasses, they had to sit down and they had to work it out?
Right. It's like and in the end, this is all work. If you guys did a shoot behind the scenes, it's that's not what we do. We work. So let's clear that up and then let's get to work and make some money.
Let's get over this and let's entertain the fans. That's what they want to see.
And let's call a spade here. Since Punk has been gone, this show has underwhelmed. Period. You cannot look at every metric points of that. The numbers and stuff.
That Punk was kind of underwhelming himself when he was there. They didn't.
He was, but
his capacity.
But
I don't know. We've had very few an Impact. He was there when I was there. And I met him backstage in WWE. He was like, "Hey, do you remember me?" I go, "Yeah, I remember you from Impact," because he had like a Pepsi tattoo, which I'm sure he still has.
Right.
And anyways, I just always thought he was talented. I don't know him that well. I do know FTR. I do know the Young Bucks, and I do know Omega, and I like all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just sit down. Let's go to work, bro.
And a part of the story was also that even though the Bucks and Kenny don't seem to be willing, that Jericho and Punk have some sort of meeting set up where they're going to hash out they've always kind of clashed, though.
Well, Jericho, you can already tell his walk back, like some of his have been like positive. Like he's the reasonable voice in the room. You know,
I think
been
those
there,
guys
done that. He's seen bigger feuds and this. He's like, bro, we're missing out on money. You guys are letting an opportunity get away. Let's whatever he's saying, thinking. But Chris knows it. You know.
Right.
Well, to wrap it up, here's what Bix said.
I do like that he's on your disco list, by the way. Disco.
This is the difference, according to David Bixenspan. I don't get why it's so hard for someone to see that the Bucks wouldn't view what happened as, quote, getting in a fight that they could smooth over afterwards. They didn't, quote, get in a fight. They were assaulted by someone who created a baseless conspiracy theory to blame them for his ills.
What's he referring to?
Punk and Ace Steel got into the fight with the Young Bucks in the locker room.
So wait, whose side is Bixenspan on?
Bixenspan is against Punk.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you had a fight. You work it out. Big deal. You don't not talk to the guy forever, not work with him.
I mean, like, think about this, dude.
Talk it out.
In professional wrestling, your most over guys got in a fight with each other, like your top guys, your highest paid guys, and it's like as a promoter say, but like you're not going to try and work it out. You want to fire one of them? It's like, come on,
well, Michaels and Brett had a thing, and Brett had to go. Remember, so that does happen too.
Yeah. But they worked.
They did. Yeah. Well,
they worked,
and he got screwed at the end of the match.
Yeah. They still
worked.
Right.
Leading up to the match.
That's a perfect example. If Bret
these guys don't even want to work, Joe.
If Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels can work a pay-per-view after getting in a fight in a locker room and to despise each other, it's like, I'm sorry. You just need to look at that example right there. Those guys did not like each other and never liked each other.
Remember the time that Sid stabbed Arn, and they after that worked together
again.
Yeah. You know
Steiner and DDP. Remember Steiner and DDP got into that fight backstage?
Right. It's not, and
they had a main event match after that. Yeah.
Bro, you should see, because there's a lot of testosterone, a lot of big egos. People are mad that they're away from home or they're not. Whatever the reason is, there's a lot of, and then you just crash and you just talk it over and you work it out and you go to work.
Right.
You don't ignore the guy.
Yeah.